Hello, fourth graders. Thank you for joining me today for Number Corner. What we are doing today is we are doing a problem string. So as you can see, it says what you'll need, your Number Corner student book, and a pencil. So go ahead, pause the video right now, grab those materials if you don't already have them, and let's get started. All right, if we see here, here's our first problem. It says Jeff bought 2 cases of bottled water. How many bottles in all did he buy? So essentially, we're talking about a few years ago, a group of kids at one high school decided to collect water bottles to donate to a flood relief organization. The bottled waters often comes in packs called cases or 24. So one case is 24 bottles. That's what we're going to be working with today. So just again, one case equals 24 bottles. That is what we are working with today. This is kind of our, almost like our conversion. One case equals 24 bottles, just for this problem here. So how many bottles in all if Jeff brought 2 cases? Well, some of you might be able to see in your head and think, or you could do it on a sheet of paper, but some of you are able to think, okay, 2 times 24. So I could either just double it. So I could just double 24. So 24 doubled, so times 2 is 48. And you could think of it as 4 times 2 is 8, and 2 times 2 is 4. So that's one way that you could get it. Another way that you could look at it is with the distributive property. So the distributive property is you're essentially like distributing this 2 throughout the 24. So kind of what that means and what that looks like is something like this. If we were to type it out as an equation here, it would look something like this. Now, this might look a little bit weird at first, but it's going to be like 2 times 24. And then if we split it out, it's going to be that 2 times 20, because it's like if we do 2 times 20, then it's going to be 2 times 20. Then we're adding the next go about, which is 2 times 4. And so essentially, we are getting an answer of 48 either way. That's one. These are some ways that you could have looked at it. You could have done it doubled. You could have done it through the distributive property. Now, if we keep going here, it says Leslie brought 4 cases of bottled water. How many bottles in all? Okay, so we know 48, and we could just, again, double 48. When we double 48, we are left with, well, let's see here. So I'm actually going to draw just a line across. So it's like a separation line. That's not a very clean line, but that's okay. So essentially, it's going to be 48 times 2, or essentially 4 times 24. And both of those equal 96. And here, let me show you why. So with when we're thinking about 96, you could look at it in so many different ways, just like we did in this last problem here. You could have looked at it, if you wanted to look at it as an equation, it could have been something like this. 4 times 24 equals, one thing that I did was I noticed 4 was just 2 times 2. Which then we were adding to 20, or then we were multiplying to 24. Another way that you could have looked at it was by noticing that 2 was multiplied by, or 2 times 24, or 2 times 24, sorry. I went a little bit ahead there. So essentially, we're just kind of like taking this and we're adding another times 2 onto it. Okay, let's keep going. And it says Eli brought 8 cases of bottled water. How many bottles in all? Well, 8 bottles. We're doubling that one more time. So let's go ahead and I'm going to draw a line. to separate. How many bottles in all? So 8 cases. So that means we're going to be doing 8. Oh, I'm going to go back. That means we're going to do 8 times 24. Now go ahead and pause the video. See if you can solve this, because I'm going to be solving it right here with by myself or with you, and then I'll show you guys what I did. All right, so essentially we could do it the associative property again. So something like this, splitting it apart even further. One thing that I was able to think of was I could think 8 times 24 equals, it could have been 2 times 4 times 24. It could have been 2 times 4 times 24. Do you see how there's a lot of different options for how we could multiply these numbers out? We don't have to necessarily keep them as 8 times 4. Now, when we multiply 8 times 24, when we multiply 8 times 24, we get our final balance of 192. So I'm going to write all these things down here. So 48, 96, and 192. So now let's go on. What do you notice when we see this here? Well, we notice that our dividend, so what we are multiplying by, that's going up. Each group is going up by 2. So when we multiply that by 2, you notice that our quotient goes up by 2, or our product goes up by 2. When we do it again from 4 to 8, that's multiplied by 2. 96 going to 192. That's also multiplied by 2. So let's keep going, and let's just think about that pattern of when we double one thing, will it double the other thing? Let's see. And this video will be a little bit longer, so I apologize. But essentially, here is the first one. It says Derek brought in half a case of bottled water. How many bottles would that be? Okay, now we're dealing with half a case of bottled water. So here are our 24 bottles of water. If we're thinking about half the case, in my brain, I can think of, okay, well, 1/2 of 24 is 12. I could just do it like this. Cut it right down the middle. So then I got 12 over here and 12 over here. But what's interesting is that I am also going to jump to here. Let me actually do this. I'm going to make sure I'm writing that down so I don't forget. 12. If I keep going, it says Jerome brought in 1/4 of a case of bottled water. 1/4 of a case of bottled water. How many bottles was that? Okay, so 1/4. Well, if I have 24 here, one thing that I know is that if I want to find 1/4 of 24, I have 24 in a 6x4 array model. So maybe if I just take this, that's 1/4, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that 1/4 times 24, that's going to equal 6, because there are only 6 pieces here. Now, mathematically, it could look like this. Half of 1/2 is 1/4. Half of 1/2 is 1/4, so we halved it. Half of 24 is 12, and half of 12 is 6. So 1/4 is 20. 1/4 of 24 is 6. Well, let's see our last one here. Sarah brought in 1/8 of a case of bottled water. How many bottles was that? So I'm going again. I'm going from 1/2 to 1/4, which is half of that. Then I'm halving it again. So let's see what my answer will be. Well, if I know that one thing about 24 is if I divide 24 into 8 different sections, I know that 24 times 3, or 8 times 3 equals 24. So that means that that'll be 1. Let me mark them out. Let me mark all of them out for you. Give me 1 sec. All right, 7 and 8. Here are my 8 different groups of 3. So that means that my answer is going to be 3. Now, do you notice? What do you notice again? Remember, because with problem strings, we are always thinking about the relationship between the questions, not just the actual answer. Looking at the relationship between the questions, I again notice that our 1/2 to 1/4, that was divided in half. Then 1/4 to 1/8 was also divided in half. And our quotient, or our answer, was 12, which got divided in half, to 6, which then got divided in half again to 3. So I'm thinking that means that we can think that when we are dividing part of our multiplication problem, or when we are dividing part of our division problem, it is going to directly impact our quotient or our answer. So let me explain what that means more. Essentially, the main thing that I want you to think about when you see this is when you are multiplying a unit, or a unit fraction, so 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, and you are multiplying it by a whole number, 24, 24, 24. You are essentially just dividing 24, the whole number, by the fraction. 24 divided by 1/2, or divided by 2, is 12. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So do you see how opposite multiplication and division are? Okay, well, now what you are going to do, you have 6 problems of homework for Number Corner today. Here are your first 3 problems. It is exactly like we just did and how I just showed you how to work through these problems. And then these are the last 3 problems. So again, you have 6 problems to complete for tonight. Remember that if you have any questions, you can join our math workshop, and we are here to help. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.